Yesterday, BTS tweeted on their official Twitter account, addressing about anti-Asian hate crime and the racism that they faced throughout their career. They send their deepest condolences to those who have lost their loved ones, that they feel grief and anger. They recall moments when they faced discrimination as Asians, enduring expletives without reason, and were mocked for the way they look. They were even asked why Asians spoke in English. They cannot put into words the pain of becoming the subject of hatred and violence for such a reason. Their own experiences are inconsequential compared to events that have occurred over the past few weeks, but these experiences were enough to make them feel powerless and chip away their self-esteem. What is happening right now cannot be dissociated from their identity as Asians. It required considerable time for them to discuss this carefully, and they contemplated deeply on how they should voice their message. But what their voice must convey is clear. They stand against racial discrimination. They condemn violence. You, I, and we all have a right to be respected, and we will stand together. It isn't the first time for BTS to talk about racial discrimination. On June 2020, BTS tweeted about their support for Black Lives Matter, and they also donated $1 million to further support the movement. But this is the first time BTS addressed the discrimination they faced themselves. The key point of their message was sharing experiences about racism, while also acknowledging that there are more people out there who might face even more severe hate crime and discrimination because of their race. It is extremely brave for them to share their experiences with us, and it means a lot for Asian community for BTS to speak up about this too. Discrimination against Asians has been going on since a long time ago, but recently, there's a huge rise in anti-Asian hate crime since the pandemic began. Every exposure about this is a good thing, and will help a lot of people, and help spreading the movement against anti-Asian hate crime and discrimination. It is never late to speak up about racism, so please do not talk like this, especially in this case. BTS is also one of the victim. You cannot force the victim of racism to speak up about it. It can be triggering and traumatic for them, but BTS did speak up about this, and there's nothing to criticize about. All you need to do is listen and support the movement. For as long as it exists, COVID-19 has been advertised as Chinese virus, and this affects so many Asians, especially East Asian people, including BTS. And before you start arguing about where COVID-19 originated from, it still isn't right to call a disease with its geographic locations. Since 2015, WHO changed its rules for naming new human infectious diseases. In recent years, several new human infectious diseases have emerged. The use of names such as swine flu and Middle East respiratory syndrome has had unintended negative impacts by stigmatizing certain communities or economic sectors. This may seem like a trivial issue to some, but disease names really do matter to the people who are directly affected. We've seen certain disease names provoke a backlash against members of particular religious or ethnic communities, create unjustified barriers to travel, commerce and trade, and trigger needless slaughtering of food animals. This can have serious consequences for people's lives and livelihoods. So now it should be avoided to include geographic locations, species of animal or food, cultural, population, industry or occupational references, and terms that incite undue fear when naming a disease. If you still calling COVID-19 as Chinese virus, you should stop it, because it is wrong and harmful for Asian community. Asians are getting assaulted, getting yelled at on the street, and also told that they should go back to their own country, all because people think they are the ones who brought the virus to the country. So many people are making jokes about coronavirus, comparing Asians to COVID-19, and making it seems like Asian people are equals to the virus, saying things that are clearly racist, and brushed it off as dark jokes, acting as if it's not wrong and completely okay to make fun of Asians, and accuse them as people who brought coronavirus, just because of their race, how they look, and where they are from. BTS themselves has been experiencing racism since they started their journey in the US. People are making fun of their face, making fun of how they look, making fun of their language, making fun of their English, questioning why so many people could listen to Korean song when they can't understand what it means, as if translations didn't exist, as if we should not consume anything that isn't our mother language. The racism against them is often overlooked because it might seem innocent and often excused, again, as a joke. as simple as making fun of their English pronunciation, or making fun of their Korean names. Mocking people who are less proficient in a second language is not okay, especially if you are white and living in English-speaking country and never learns to speak another language because you've been speaking English for your whole life. What do you know about learning a second or third language to communicate with people from other countries? You don't know anything about it. You don't know how hard it is, so you might as well just shut up and stop making fun of someone's English. So many Asians, or rather non-English speaking people, were learning English by themselves. Namjoon is one of the example, and it is not easy at all. BTS themselves can speak so many languages besides Korean. They can speak Japanese, Chinese, and now they are learning to speak English. It is so amazing to be able to speak multiple languages, and no one should be ridiculed for their effort to learn them. We should also respect them as Korean and stop making fun of their names. No more Jungkook or Jungle Book or anything else. If you can't pronounce their name correctly, you can learn about it instead of making fun of them. Mocking their Korean name is not okay. It isn't funny, and it is extremely offensive for Korean people. So you need to stop doing it. People also need to stop questioning about why people listen to Korean songs. I'm so tired of this, because some of us actually bothered to find out about the meaning of their songs. It is not that hard. There are so many ARMY translators out there, and my personal favorite is Dulcet website. They provided deeper context for deeper understanding about what their song means. You can also check Genius translations, so there really is no excuse for you to say that you don't listen to Korean songs because you can't understand it. You're just lazy and xenophobic. Also, I find it really weird how Western media viewed K-pop as manufactured, including BTS, as if Western music industry is any different than that. One of journalists accused that BTS were not actually posting stuff on Weverse by themselves, saying that it is controlled by the company, and blah blah blah, making it seems like BTS are not a real person and just robots that controlled by Big Hit. We all know it is completely wrong. Of course, everything they posted on Weverse is done by themselves, not by anybody else. They are not robot. They are real people. I also didn't forget how Billboard wrote a whole essay explaining why Dynamite can charted as #1 on Billboard Hot 100, which undervalued the impact and the success of Dynamite and BTS. They only wrote this kind of thing for BTS. They never ever did it for anybody else, which is really suspicious. Billboard also said Life Goes On dipped from #1, which very different with how they announced other songs free fall from the chart normally. It is extremely unprofessional. Not only Billboard, when BTS lose the Grammy, the media were so focusing on that, so many of them wrote articles about how BTS failed to get it, forgetting about anyone else who also lose Grammy, but didn't get any single article about their lose. We cannot forget this offensive sticker too, and how their apology were not addressing the main issue, which is racism, brushing it off as customers who are offended, which means they didn't acknowledge that sticker as encouragement to be violent against Asians. And lastly, we cannot forget about the people who were joking about BTS and coronavirus, comparing them to COVID-19, making jokes about them catching the virus, and so on. And now that BTS talking about the racism they faced, these people started to act like they cared, but really, they are the part of the problem too. I'm glad if they really mean it and changed for good. I just hope they are not saying this just because they see this movement as a trend and doing it as performative action. Stop making excuses about racism. Stop saying that it is just a dark joke. Racism is not a joke. You should never ever joke about racism. It affects real people. Joking about it just proves that you didn't care about Asians. So please stop it. Racism against BTS might be in smaller scale compared to the others, but it is still racism regardless, and it is still not okay. Educate yourselves about racism against Asians. I recommend watching this video. It's really informative and explained the racism deeply since the war. You can also donate to further support the community through GoFundMe and through other Asians who needs help and fund. Like BTS said, we should stand against racial discrimination and condemn violence. You, I, and we all have the right to be respected, and we will stand together. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and support me on Ko-fi. Bye armies. See you on another video.